welcome back to another episodes of Tracks and Tackle, the podcast that celebrates the joy of hunting, fishing, and all things outdoors. I'm your host, the Arrow Eagle, and today I've got my very special co-host joining me for an exciting interview. He's not just my co-host, but he's also a passionate angler with a unique story to share. So let's give a warm welcome to the Hollywood Horse.
Hey, Arrow Eagle. Happy to be back into the studio and, be sharing some stories just like old times.
You know, it's really fun doing these because we are just hanging out.
Right.
I mean, literally, we're just hanging out and talking about the outdoors, and this is so much fun. So I can't wait to hear about your story here. What we want to do is we want to talk about what inspired you to really embrace the fishing lifestyle. I know I like to fish, and our family loves to fish and being outdoors, but you've actually embraced it to a different level, and I'd love to hear a little bit about that. Like, what got you started?
Yeah, so growing up, it was kind of one of those family traditions. Trout opener, we would go out, everybody catch our limits. And by go out, I mean we would get to the hole at 4 in the morning, 4:30. Sometimes some of us would sleep in, not mentioning names, and, get to the hole a little bit later when it's already saved.
You got to get to that fishing hole before the other anglers get out there,
and,
right?
Just have some, egg sandwiches, hang out, share stories by the creek as the sun's starting to rise, and, catching our limits to set. And, it was just a lot of fun. It became a competition. Who's got the biggest, who's got the first fish, who filled up their stringer first. So that's always been memorable. But of late, I guess, my fishing only consisted of opening day and maybe another time or two, with my father or one of my buddies. This summer, I would say I fished the most, and I plan on fishing a lot more. I'm going fishing after this, actually. But I just kind of got hooked in it. One of my friends, we just started to fish more and more, realized how much she was into fishing, and it was just easy to go out and hang out and just kind of spend time with each other and spend time on that water. And, just having some success with that, just wanting to go to the next hole or the next place. I really fell in love with bass fishing this year. Like I said, I only really fished trout, but trout fishing's fun. It's definitely rewarding, but they don't put up much of a fight. You almost sometimes think you're reeling in a minnow versus when you get out to a bass pond, you got some that'll snap your line and bend your rod, and, you're feeling like you're reeling in a Moby Dick. But I've truly have a passion for it now, and I'm getting out probably 2 to 3 times a week. Definitely looking on the weekends, and Wednesday I sneak away. But I think a big portion, I guess this can apply to anything, is having that free time or finding that free time. So right now after work, I get off early. I'm not looking to go home and do chores. I kind of sneak away and worry about those when the sun goes down. But yeah, I'm just all on board and kind of learning newer things about largemouth as going along fishing these private ponds.
Yeah, no, I love it, and I love to see, the photos and the video that you capture as you're out there angling. Certainly, one of the things that you had mentioned was you had a buddy that you went fishing with, and it just became more interesting. It's fun to watch and understand, look back at like how easy it is to get into something when you have a friend or a hunting buddy or a fishing buddy to do it with.
Oh yeah, it makes it 100 times easier. Just to share those memories. That's what it's about. At the end of the day, it's rewarding to catch a fish or get that kill and meet in the freezer. But to share that experience, people know it's you're not stretching a story because they were there.
Now, you've taken some guided fishing trips, right?
Yeah, so when I was in college, through a fly fishing club, we went up to Deposit, New York, and it was a good trip. The water was beautiful. Fishing I want to say it was the West Branch of the Delaware River. It was beautiful. The fishing on my end with the fly rod is not. Man, my line was all over it, but some of the other guys caught some monsters, and we had a good time. And that ties into spending time with your buddies when you're out there. So we made it a memorable weekend and one that we won't forget.
Let me ask you this. how do you correlate your love for fishing and life lessons, I guess? How has that impacted success in life? Can you correlate the two?
Yeah, that's a great question. As you're kind of saying about it, I'm kind of thinking like, man, he's got me stumped. But the first thing that jumps to my mind is the lesson of patience. Um,
Sure.
Sometimes when you're out there, fish are biting like crazy, it's a blast. Other times, not so much fun. And you can get a little stressed out. But just knowing, waiting for the right moment to strike. Sometimes, with life, we have to be patient and it can be difficult, but just waiting it out, you have a bad day of fishing, not hanging the rod up and not getting out, but using it as fuel, my time's due, I need to get out here and, make some adjustments and try some different tactics.
Yeah, I'm due to catch a fish.
Yeah.
Any minute now, there's going to be something that's going to bite this line. There's actually the anticipation. I think of like it being a child waiting for Christmas Day. Fishing's a little bit like that, right? There's the anticipation when it comes to like being young and looking forward to something like that. The anticipation is almost more exciting and invigorating than when the day actually gets there. It's over so quick. So when I fish, I know like there's this anticipation of like when is the next nibble gonna hit? When am I gonna get a hit on the line? Um, so when that happens, the action it can pop out of nowhere, and it usually happens whenever I least expect it because you're trying to pay attention, but your mind wanders, man. You're free with your thoughts when you're out there with the line in the water,
Oh
right?
yeah, I missed so many when I was adjusting my glasses or scratching my face, not paying attention. But yeah, the anticipation. I know sometimes when you first get out to the water, you're like, can't wait to get this first few casts in. I'm gonna catch a fish. Sometimes it works in your favor, and then it dies off, and you kind of lose a little bit of that joy. Or sometimes it's the opposite. It takes an hour or so out there until the fish start biting, but it's just the perseverance and staying true to it. So I know of late we've been getting out and getting you out into the water a little bit more. And we talked about this, it almost sparked that passion in you.
Yeah.
Why don't you go in and talk about that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing about, when you have a fishing buddy, you have somebody to do it with, it does inspire. And that's part of the thing that we want to do here by having these conversations and these podcast episodes is to inspire people to go out. So when you have a hunting buddy or you have a fishing buddy, and you have a little bit of success, it's like so much fun
Hmm.
because you get to share it with someone. And so that's why it's so enjoyable to sit here and have these conversations because we're actually sharing our stories with you. Um, but yeah, I've definitely have increased my time with my fishing pole and my line in the water. I want to say when I was younger, when I was a teenager, I fished a lot because I had a lot of time.
Yeah.
I didn't have the responsibilities of life that I do right now. But the reality is, you got to fight to make that time. Anything in life, whether it's hunting, whether it's fishing, whether it's camping, whether it's hiking, you just got to make the time for the things that are valuable. And so, seeing you embrace fishing the way that you have of recent is really helped me to just reevaluate the value. I guess I'm placing a higher value on the time spent, and some of the time it's the value of hanging out together.
Hmm.
Is probably what it really is. But if we're going to hang out, we might as well do something that we both love. And so we have this common interest. And, there's always a little competition who's catches the most fish or whose fish is the biggest, like you were saying.
Yeah,
You know,
last I recall, it was 3-3, and we were going for the tiebreaker, but we both decided it was getting a little dark and the mosquitoes were biting.
yeah, yeah, we tied out the last time that we went fishing together. But yeah, I mean that's part of the camaraderie, though. The fishing stories that come afterwards. If you weren't there to see it, it's a fishing story, right?
Right, yeah, seeing some of those ones that broke your line, I know one of them was pretty nice.
The last time we went out bass fishing, guys, we were at a meeting together and we left the meeting and we hit a fishing hole. Had a little bit of time. It was like right before dusk. It was a perfect time of
Great
night.
fishing.
I had 3 fishing rods with me, all of them baited up. And the first cast, I hooked a bass, was reeling it in maybe 3 or 4 feet from the edge of the bank, and it broke my line. And so
It
rather than
happens.
rebaiting, I just grabbed my next fishing pole and threw the water line and hit the water. And just right then, man, they were biting. So I think the first 3 or 4 casts I made had fish hit the bait, but I broke the line on the first 2 casts. I think it was my third one where I finally got one into the bank.
What poundage was that line?
Not strong enough. It definitely
Yeah,
wasn't.
so I want to tie this into learning from your mistakes because trust me, I've made the same mistake too. I had what I thought was 10-pound test, but I couldn't tell you when it was last put on the rod. This you could rip it with your hands, but plenty of fish break my lines, and you know I was saying a few curse words and no words, and even tying the hook on, I would just tie a triple knot. And for a fish to get off, I learned, it's important for when that moment strikes to use your proper equipment, the proper knot on that hook. Even the drag. I had fish break my line because, I guess I was fishing trout for it where I didn't have to worry about it, but the drag was not set at all. And, when that trout actually decides to put on a fight, he took everything with him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's learning from your mistakes. It's how we get better. It's why how these guys that have been fishing their whole lives, there's a talent aspect to it, but it's a science, and you learn as you go. That's how we grow in life. So I would say, just to parlay that into a question for you, if one of our listeners is out here, a young angler or somebody wanting to get into angling, what advice would you give them on getting started that would help them to succeed?
So here's a very big tidbit that I found personally to help me out in my fishing success would just be listen to others and be willing to take advice. I was fishing this pond. I was using what I typically use, just a little Mr. Twister on like an eyelet. I would throw that out, get a couple hits. They might have been bluegills or small bass, but I think I really didn't catch anything. I caught about two bluegills, and you know this guy that fishes the pond all the time ended up coming by and talking to me. We were loose buddies, acquaintances, and he just came up openly. Here, try this, and he was looking at what I was using and was like, nah, like you got to try this over here. So he put me on this worm with this Texas rig Senko, and just throwing that out made the pond, pond was boring to now it was exciting. I had some rod benders and some fish that would break my line, and I'd be like, hey, that's got to be at least 5 pounds, 5 pounds or 6 pounds, and I ended up leading to my passion, which I went to Bass Pro, and I spent a lot more than I should. I was only going to get those worms in that rig, and I figured it probably cost me $20, and next thing you know, I'm ringing out, and there's $200 on the credit card.
Doesn't that happen?
But yeah, one of the things I got was a portable digital scale, and you'd be surprised that this pond it goes 40 feet deep. I'm sure there's bigger fish than what we caught there, but the biggest that we weighed was been 4 pounds. But if I didn't have this scale, some of these 2 pounders I would assume a lot bigger than they are. It's not the size of the fish, but the fight in the fish.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the enjoyment is, that fight that you get from the fish to reel them in. And, for me personally, one of the things I love most about fishing is the release. Catching that animal, it's a chess match, right? So, you get them to finally bite the bait, you reel them in, you get them into the net, you get yourself a selfie with it, and then putting them back into their habitat and watching them go to live on to be and to flourish. It's really rewarding, and that's probably one of my most favorite things about fishing some of these holes that we've been fishing together.
But yeah, for the young anglers, I would just say be willing to take advice and ask others for help. Um, I would, try plenty of different fishing holes. Maybe the fish aren't there. Don't be afraid to give 10 casts and move on. Um, and kind of even for me, what makes it fun is if I go out for an hour and I'm not catching anything, like I'm perfectly content, packing the truck up and heading for home, or if I'm having fun, staying a little bit longer. But don't stress yourself out. Just go out and enjoy the outdoors while you're there.
Yeah, I couldn't have said that any better. Enjoy the outdoors. This is what we're all about. And that's what it's all about. This podcast, Tracks and Tackle, is about enjoying the outdoors. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up on social media. We can be found on Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, at Menser Outdoors. And we really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Hope you've enjoyed this special interview with the Hollywood Horse. I pray that it ignites your own love for fishing and being outside. Till next time, stay wild and keep exploring.
Take care.